Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. So I got a very important clip to show you guys. It's important because the topic being discussed, and more importantly the facts being discussed, surprisingly on MSNBC of all place, is one of the most concerning current realities and trends that we are currently facing. It's the kind of stuff that makes people refer to the fall of Rome, you know, the fall of an empire. Probably even more concerning, in my opinion at least, it seems to be part of some sort of plan to demoralize us, to destroy us from within, because of course, as we know, a depressed and demoralized society is much easier to conquer, is much easier to control, and is much more susceptible to information campaigns than a strong, thriving, community-based society. They are trying to rip us apart from the core, from the nucleus, that is the family nucleus, the traditional family. We've seen it stated outright on globalist activist websites previously. Well, this is what they want, this is what's happening, and people ought to be waking up to the facts. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so I never thought I would hear myself say this, but yeah, I'm saying it. You guys gotta watch this MSNBC clip. Yep, I just recommended that you watch MSNBC, I know, it's shocking. But trust me, just make an exception this one time. Take a look.
For the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. That is the social compact breaking down. People aged 30 to 34, 60% of them in 1990 had one child. Now it's 27%. People are opting out of America. They're not optimistic about it. They're not having kids. Young people aren't having sex. They're not meeting. They're not mating. The pool of emotionally and economically viable men shrinks every day, which lessens household formation. So we have a real issue. Young people are enraged. So it turns every cut, every movement into an opportunistic infection because, quite frankly, they are just pissed off. They look up, they see wealth, exceptional wealth across my generation and people in certain industries, and they are really struggling. Their purchasing power is going down, and the incumbents create artificial scarcity on campus. We take pride in rejecting 90% of our applicants, so the incumbents who already have a degree see their degree go up in value. We get very concerned with housing and traffic once we own the housing. Housing permits are sequestered from young people. Housing prices have gone from $290 to $420 in the last 4 years. So a young person, a house, stocks that I don't own skyrocket in value. Let's have COVID relief and flush the markets and take assets way up, because if 1 million people dying would be bad, it would be tragic if I got less wealthy. And we're doing it on their credit card. Young people have every reason to be enraged, and every issue they see, they look up, they get angry, and they see someone doing better than them. And then every day it is speedballed in their face that they are failing, that they are not doing as well as everyone around them. We have lost the script. Our kids are more anxious, they're more depressed, they're more obese, they're more addicted, and we have made a purposeful decision to let this happen by ensuring the people around this table stay wealthy at the cost of young people.
So this ought to be one of the most concerning trends, and nobody seems to talk about it. The news media will go on and on and on about every tweet that Donald Trump ever made. I mean, for 4 years, all we heard about was all of these horrible, mean tweets, and Stormy Daniels this, and Michael Avenatti that. But not once do we hear about this. Not once do we hear about the declining birth rate. The fact that young men are, I think the only word that I could use that's proper here is suffering, falling behind academically, higher levels of depression and substance abuse. Young men are taking their own lives at a rate that we've never seen before. Young people aren't getting married and having kids. Our society is faltering. I mean, sick, dying from the inside out, and nobody seems to care. Nobody even pays attention. Nobody bats an eye, even though, I mean, this could spell the end of our society, of our culture, of Western society. While the rest of the world is having babies, expanding, growing, we're contracting, and it's having serious cultural effects. And it's also having a very serious political effect. That's where, you know, what I alluded to in the intro, it seems almost planned. It seems orchestrated. Why is that the case? Well, because a society without strong men and without strong families is a society rife for takeover. And obviously that takeover, at least in my view, is coming in the form of a left-wing globalist takeover, where big government rules and helpless people are made dependent more and more on government programs. And we know that based on voting patterns. Here's a poll from the Edison Research Network. You have married men, married women, unmarried men, and then unmarried women. For the most part, the breakdowns are relatively even. Married people, of course, tend to vote Republican. But then once you get to the unmarried woman demographic, single women, and in some cases single moms, 68% support Democrats. And this is obviously the key to indefinite left-wing power, government overtake, and rule. It starts with the family, right? A strong society starts from the family, and a weak society, a easily controlled society, well, starts with the destruction of the family unit. You create a dependent. Actually, you replace fatherhood, you replace the father's role with the government dole. This right here is how you do it, and the ironic part is that the perceived solution is in fact the problem. You know, the reality is the future seems quite bleak for a lot of young people, and that's because it is. You know, the economy has grown, but the lower and middle class don't feel it. Regular people, and especially young people trying to build their lives, certainly don't feel it. You know, back in the day, people working regular blue-collar jobs could enjoy a very high standard of living. Well, that's simply not possible anymore, because government keeps on printing more and more money. Government keeps on expanding. They're controlling more money. Taxes are higher. They're picking winners and losers when it comes to government spending. And in many cases, the winners of the tax breaks and subsidies, well, tend to be major international corporations. And so the very rich and the top 1% get richer and richer and richer, while those at the bottom, or those trying to, climb up from the bottom, get poorer and poorer and have less opportunity when it comes to upward mobility. And so it's a government-made problem, and then a government-made solution is then presented to young people, who in many cases are feeling hopeless. And of course, when you're feeling hopeless, you're very susceptible to promises being made to you, and that's what the government does. We know your life is so bad, it's so horrible, everything's so expensive, and the white male patriarchy and capitalism's taking you down. Well, the answer is socialism. Free stuff for everyone. Housing's a human right. Yada, 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 yada. Free this, free that. But all the while, as people continue to fall for the scam, as we continue to be more and more demoralized, the problems just get worse. Government is a malignant virus, and it's just going to keep on expanding and taking over the body, and the body itself will get sicker and sicker and sicker. And what this NYU professor laid out here, well, those are the symptoms of a sick society. Well, I'm no doctor, but I could certainly diagnose this sickness, and I have the prescription. The prescription is smaller government, less government control, less government involvement, less taxes. In fact, there should probably be huge tax incentives for starting families, in my view. The solution is less government, more family, more mom and dads sticking together and really investing into the future in a tangible and substantive manner. We need to get back to the simple stuff, back to the roots, frankly, back to what I view as some very insidious forces are trying so deeply to destroy. You know, it really feels like a long, generational long, Yuri Bezmenov described demoralization campaign. We gotta get back to the building blocks of society, putting power back in the hands of individuals, building our society around building families, prioritizing, encouraging, and rewarding families, rather than demonizing, the whole concept of the traditional nuclear family, which of course we know is one of the core tenets of modern leftism, the destruction of the nuclear family, just as was explicitly stated on the BLM website. The more this goes on, the bigger government will get, the more sad and depressing reality will get for the average people, and of course, the more powerful the wealthy elite will become. As you know, as government expands, well, the rich get richer, and the wealth gap gets wider. That's exactly what we're seeing. The politically connected corporate overlord class is taking more and more control of our everyday lives. And frankly, people at the bottom are losing control of their everyday lives and frankly losing the ability to even survive in a respectable manner. It's sad, it's horrifying, it's demoralizing, I know I keep using that term, and we ought to talk about it more because people really should be angry and bothered by this. The media wants so badly for you to be distracted and be angry at, Donald Trump, and even Joe Biden to a certain extent. But what we should be really pissed about is the fact that our beautiful society, Western civilization, seems to be in a slow freefall, a slow, coordinated, orchestrated collapse or demolition. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.